Politically speaking, this is a problem for the Harris campaign, in large part because she is so ill-defined. We see that in poll after poll after poll for months now, right? Americans are trying to fill in the gaps around her family. This is an issue for the campaign that they're going to have to deal with now in the last, 4 or 5 weeks of the election. And I'm just saying, regardless of whether more people come forward, regardless of what's confirmed or not confirmed, I think that there is now a little bit of blood in the water. The nanny thing was the first drop, and now there's some more. And it's not going to be long now. I can guarantee you that there are investigative teams at the Times and the Post and elsewhere that are looking into this.
The Daily Mail also had that he was basically the worst kind of office sexist predator guy. Daily Mail reported on that based on interviews that for people who worked at his law firm. So again, these are allegations. I understand this. I do think it's very convenient that allegations, demand more study, demand more evidence when it's really important for a Democrat.
What's happening, everybody? Conservative radio host Buck Sexton recently sat down with Bill Maher and a leftist panel on his show Real Time with Bill Maher. The only conservative on the panel pointed out the double standard of the left-wing media when it covers Republicans versus Democrats. Bill Maher and his lefty panel attempted to counter Buck Sexton's arguments, but as is all too common, they failed miserably. That said, let's watch conservative radio host Buck Sexton destroy Bill Maher and his liberal cronies with facts, not feelings. Let's go.
Okay, here are the questions from the people. What did you think of Obama's comments on the campaign trail that black men should get over their reluctance to vote for Kamala? Will that be effective? Yeah, he was pretty scoldy. You don't usually see him like that. You usually see him kind of take this opposite.
I think Wall Street Journal and the New York Times poll most recently has overall black support for Trump over 20%, by the way. I think it might have been as high as...
That's just men.
I'm sorry, men, but we're speaking about the Obama speaking to the issue of black men and their support of Kamala Harris. So Trump is making inroads with that demographic voting-wise.
He oddly does better each time with immigrants, minority groups, people of color, the people who you
maybe it's not so odd.
I mean, it tells me that the Democrats are a little bit nervous, right?
When you're losing 4-1, you're still losing badly.
You are.
Come on. It's just relatively, yeah. I mean,
Democrats seem perhaps there's anxiety, but there's also the realization that I think people are criticizing Obama because there is blame to go around for why people choose not to support a particular candidate. It might be sexism, it might be racism, it might be other factors as well. So I think to single out a particular group has ruffled some feathers. Having said that, if you're part of the group that believes you should not vote for someone on account of those factors, then perhaps the scolding could be doled out more diplomatically, but you should hear it as well.
but what is the attraction?
To Obama?
No, to Trump.
Machismo.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yes.
It's, I mean,
he's a baller.
Success, alpha dog, the whole thing.
Yes.
That is the appeal.
I mean,
every time people have this, it's like the guy he's a billionaire, he's a global celebrity, he's been president, he's married a supermodel. Yeah, like I don't know. Democrats need to stop thinking that this is some big shock.
Who doesn't want to commit crimes and not go to jail?
We didn't even talk about lawfare today. We didn't even talk about lawfare.
But you do realize, just think about where we are as a society, that the criteria for being the president of the United States, where we dare to say the leader of the free world, our president, is somebody that you are drawn to simply because of bravado, not because of policy, not because of what they can do for you, not just your neighbor, what they can do for you and beyond. That's really that's a devolution of what we think about in terms of what
can I just
like.
On the sexism, racism thing, which we're going to start hearing a lot as the polls get worse for Kamala, the Democrat Party overwhelmingly.
Democratic Party.
I'm sorry.
Hey, if you like watching videos like these, like, subscribe, and blah, 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 blah. Let's get back to the video.
Sorry. Democratic
I don't know
Party.
why that's such a burn.
I don't know. It's not a burn. I just
no, but like all Republicans do that. I don't know why they think that's such a burn.
I honestly, I've never heard anyone who cared about it before. This is the first time.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
It just seems so. It's just
your listeners haven't.
I just like maybe a few here and there, but it's kind of a potato situation.
I know it, but it just seems I don't give a shit.
Okay, but can I?
Yes, of course.
The point I was trying to make is the Democrat part. It is possible. Sorry, the Democratic Party. It is possible that Kamala Harris just is not good at this, and Democrats recognize that in 2020. And to say racism, sexism right now after the performance she's put on is just preposterous.
Right. And many people are voting for the Republican Party for that reason. But What did you make of Melania's new book where she indicates that she is pro-choice? I didn't read that about her book. I read a few things about her book. I don't know why she's putting out a book. I thought she was,
Well,
I thought she was like super private.
I don't care what first ladies think about policy as a rule. Like I don't.
Right.
That doesn't. I mean, and I don't mean that. Democrat, Republican, first lady, very nice. Hope they do some good charity work. Or first husband, Doug Emhoff. No, it's true. They're not elected officials. I don't care what they think about it just because they're married to somebody who's been given a lot of power to represent people. So I would just say it doesn't matter to me.
There's a lot of scuttlebutt in the news this week about Doug. What, now,
Believe all women, except when it comes to one who says that someone hit her across the face.
right, well, of course, we don't know if that's true.
She says that it happened. I'm not saying that it happened. I'm just saying that the standard used to
if
be
people-
believe all women.
If people don't know what's going on, the Daily Mail is reporting that 3 women that she talked to contemporaneously, which has been the standard very often in these cases, that she said back in, I think, 2011 or something, they were at the Cannes Film Festival. He slapped her. He thought she was flirting with the valet.
And he knocked up the nanny, right? That's confirmed.
That's confirmed.
Yeah.
He definitely knocked up the nanny. Yes, that's it.
You know, I mean,
But no, I don't know. Nobody ever knows.
toxic masculinity.
Okay, what I'm saying is, if this becomes more credible, and we don't know yet. I mean, a lot of the conservative outlets still aren't reporting it. So I wouldn't go after anybody for not reporting it yet, because these things have to be checked out. But if it becomes more credible, certainly on the level of Brett Kavanaugh, which was, that kind of thing was reported by everybody pretty quickly, does the liberal media keep ignoring it? And wouldn't
Yes,
that
they will. Absolutely.
wouldn't
question.
that make it look worse?
Well, first of all, I think that, I mean, just to your point, yes, it is prudent to be cautious about any story that's reported until you have the supporting details so that the audience is able to effectively judge the veracity of a statement. I think it is fair to investigate and look into matters that involve allegations of assault or otherwise. I think that's fair to do so. What I don't think is fair is to, and I'm consistent on this on all accounts, is to tar and feather without more. I think you have to give information to people, and you have to actually do your homework and background. I don't think by not reporting, and I'm not familiar with all of the allegations that are involved here, but I think it is appropriate to investigate, as it is appropriate to be cautious before you simply put something into the ether that has no substantiation.
Just to be clear, though.
Let me ask you.
Just politically speaking, this is a problem for the Harris campaign, in large part because she is so ill-defined. We see that in poll after poll after poll for months now, right? Americans are trying to fill in the gaps around her family. This is an issue for the campaign that they're going to have to deal with now in the last 4 or 5 weeks of the election. And I'm just saying, regardless of whether more people come forward, regardless of what's confirmed or not confirmed, I think that there is now a little bit of blood in the water. The nanny thing was the first drop, and now there's some more. And it's not going to be long now. I can guarantee you that there are investigative teams at the Times and the Post and elsewhere that are looking into it.
The Daily Mail also had that he was basically the worst kind of office sexist predator guy. Daily Mail reported on that based on interviews that people who worked at his law firm. So again, these are allegations. I understand this. I do think it's very convenient that allegations demand more study, demand more evidence when it's really important for a Democrat that we don't all say, hold on a second, this guy seems like a huge jerk. And he is being used as a surrogate on the campaign for masculinity and talking about.
With regard to the double standard as far as how they treat scandals or rumors about Democrats versus Republicans, I'll tell a quick personal story, actually an embarrassing story. I lived in California when Brett Kavanaugh was being confirmed for the Supreme Court. And any news I got was just clips from mainstream media, and never did any of my own homework or anything. But I remember in my head thinking, this guy is a monster. I can't believe, in my head I was a white knight that just, these poor women. And then if you do any amount of research, you realize they had nothing on him, and they raked him over the coals. So I don't know why when they mentioned Kavanaugh there, someone, especially Buck, didn't step in and say they didn't have anything. What a terrible ordeal that guy and his family had to go through based on no evidence and no corroborating witnesses. But I think that shows how indoctrinating California is and what an echo chamber it is. I mean, just from the fact that I lived there, I thought a certain way. You know, I was the average voter that just believed the little snippets he heard and kind of put them together and made my decision. And when all you're hearing is one nasty story, you know, and you start to hear everyone else's opinions about it, at least at that time, before I started thinking for myself, when everybody else has that opinion and you're not that into getting to the bottom of things, you've got your own life going on, I kind of understand how people can just have that opinion because everyone around them does. You know, I'm sure they had limited time on that show and they probably couldn't get more into it, but I would have liked to have seen Buck Sexton talk about the Russia collusion hoax and how that was based on nothing, but it was on the news for years. Every single newscast, Russia collusion and Donald Trump. I thought he did a good job about bringing up the Hunter Biden laptop, how they suppressed that story until Joe Biden was already in office. And then when he did finally have to face justice for it, they waited long enough for the statute of limitations to kick in. I mean, just imagine, what if the Doug Emhoff story was not Doug Emhoff, but it was Don Jr. or Eric Trump? Do you think they would be doing their due diligence, and as that Laura Coates said, not tar and feathering the person right now? They'd be all over it knowing that this could possibly be untrue, but by the time we know if it's true or untrue, we will have achieved our objective, which is to get our candidate into office, and turned people off of Trump because someone associated with him did something terrible. And frankly, I haven't seen, they may mention it, Donald Trump and J.D. Vance may mention this thing about Doug Emhoff, but I haven't seen it be like a big centerpiece of their campaign. I mean, they really are campaigning on policy and relatability and talking about their personal achievements and their vision for the future of the country. And I can always acknowledge I have bias, but I don't feel like the MO of the right is to find a juicy story and slander someone. It's politics, and don't get me wrong, both sides will use things, but because their candidate has nothing really to run on, that's the Democrats' main strategy, is to smear and call him Hitler and threat to democracy, and he's going to make a national abortion ban, and he's going to put people in internment camps, and he's going to go after his political enemies. And I just did a video on Cenk Uygur where I talked about how much he dislikes Donald Trump and how I think there's projection there. And I feel the exact same way about the Democrat Party. You know, they're the ones always screaming racism, sexism, misogyny. I believe this from the bottom of my heart, that is projection, because that's how they see other people. So they assume that other people look at individuals that way, and they try to label the right wing as racist, sexist, homophobic, misogynistic. And that's why they try to overcorrect and kowtow to identity politics and groups with, you know, DEI initiatives and telling us men can be women and women can be men. Anyway, that's it for today's show. If you like watching videos of lefties getting clowned, then click on one of the two videos that just popped up on your screen. Otherwise, I really appreciate you being here. The end.